Good morning, boys and girls. Today for writing, we are going to learn how to write the middle of a realistic fiction story. So let's go over what is a realistic fiction. Realistic fiction is a story using made-up characters that could happen in real life. The setting is real, the characters could be real people, there is a problem and a believable solution, and the author does not say I, me, or my. You guys have to write the character's name. You're not writing the story by yourself. You're writing a story about a character. Okay. So teaching point. Writers, today I want to teach you that fiction writers often divide their stories into chapters. One way they do this is to break their stories into 3 parts. So yesterday we wrote about the beginning of your realistic fiction story. You guys talked about the characters. You introduced the characters, you introduced the setting, you introduced what is your character doing in the setting. That's very important to start that in your realistic fiction writing. So today we're going to focus on the middle of the story, okay, and what you must have in your story in the middle. So yesterday we started reading Henry Fudge, and they heard a knocking on the door. They heard something on the door. Suddenly, Mudge ran to the door and barked. Henry opened the door. Sitting on the steps was the shabbiest cat Henry had ever seen. So let's think about the problem. Is there a problem in the story? Because every realistic fiction story, there pretty much is a problem. It had a saggy belly, skinny legs, and fur that looked like mashed prunes. Henry and Henry's father and Henry's big dog Mudge stood in the door and looked at the shabby cat. Hey, kitty, said Henry. Are you sure it's a kitty? Said Henry's father. So already you see there's a lot of details by explaining what the cat looks like. Also has dialogue of what their characters are saying. It might be a stray, Henry said, petting it. It has to be, said Henry's father. That is the shabbiest cat I've ever seen. Shabbiest mean like the dirtiest cat that hasn't been cleaned in a long time. He carried the cat into the house while Henry and Mudge followed Mudge's tail. Mudge's tail was wagging hard. So you already see that already there's a problem. There's a cat in their front steps. Like what are they going to do with this cat? So remember that realistic fiction story that could have happened didn't really take place. The word realistic means real life. So today we're going to continue working in our story by writing the middle. So what do you think the middle needs? What do you think it needs? It needs a problem. We need to give a character the problem, okay? And it's very important to have the problem match to the setting and what the characters are doing, okay? So a problem is something that's bad that's happened to the character. So today we're just going to focus the middle, which is just the problem, okay? So for example, these are different settings, right? Different places, and we'll think of a problem. So if your story talks about the beach, what kind of problem can a beach have? Can happen at the beach? Yes, it could start raining. That could be a problem. So if your story is your character at the beach, you could write about the character having a problem that it started raining. What kind of problem can you have at a park? There's a lot of problems you can have in a park. You could fall down off the slide, or someone pushes you. There's a lot of problems that you could also put in a park. Schools. If your character is in a school, what kind of problems can the character face? Your character could face maybe a test being too hard or being late to school because you overslept. That's something that you could write in the middle of your story. These are just examples. If you did a different setting, you just have to think as a writer, what kind of problem can your characters face in that setting? And the last one is snow. What kind of problems can you have in the snow? You could write that your character slipped and hit his head. Or there's a snowball fight and you got hurt really bad. Your character got hurt really bad. So these are different examples of problems that you could have in your realistic fiction story. So yesterday we started writing this realistic fiction story. So I'm going to reread it so I could remember what I wrote yesterday. Okay, so one cloudy day, Violet was on the way home from Grandma's house. She lived in the country. Woof, woof! All of a sudden, she heard some weird sounds. Violet looked around, and then she found a little newborn puppy behind a big rock. This puppy looked so afraid. Violet said to herself, it's going to rain soon. I don't want this puppy to get wet. So now this is my beginning, okay? I have my beginning written yesterday, so today I'm going to write the middle. So now this is the beginning of the story. Now I'm going to write my middle of the story. So in the middle of the story, you have to have a problem. Okay, so write what is happening before the problem. You write what the problem is. You need to add dialogue and also feelings. So let's look at my story. This is now my middle. I'm continuing this story, and now this is my middle of the story. Next, she took the puppy into her room. Here, I will put you in a small box and give you my small blanket, Violet said. She was excited to save this puppy from the storm. She decided to name this puppy Molly. Dinner time, yelled Violet's mom. Violet ran to the kitchen. I saved the puppy and I would like to keep it, please, Violet said. Her parents looked at each other and said, we think the puppy's cute, but we don't want to have a dog in the house. It is too much work. So you see, I have the beginning, and in my middle, I have a problem. What's the problem? She wants a dog, but the parents said no. Okay? So you see how I have in the middle of the story, I have what's happening just before the problem. She took the puppy into her room, right? That's before the problem. I didn't just jump in saying, oh, I want a puppy. No. She took the puppy into the room. And then she went downstairs and she went to her parents and asked the parents if she could keep the dog, and the parents say no. How do you think she feels? Violet felt very sad. Now, this is just the middle of the story. Next time there's a writing lesson, you'll be writing the end. So today you're just going to write the middle of the story, okay? So what you're going to do now, you're going to take out yesterday's writing with beginning of your story. You're going to read it again so you refresh your memory. Think of the setting. What kind of problem can you have in that setting? Continue writing the middle of the story. So make sure you have all of this in your story. Make sure you write what's happening just before the problem. Write what the problem is, what your character's facing, add dialogue, and add feelings. Okay? And use this to help you make sure that you have all of these in your realistic fiction writing. Okay, go ahead. You can start writing.